Did you know you don't see the world as it is, but as you are? Your reality is shaped by your thoughts and beliefs about yourself, including your self-image. These thoughts influence your emotions, behaviors, and outcomes in life. So, what thought patterns are driving your life? Are they empowering you or holding you back? Your thoughts shape your reality. Do you see the world as friendly or hostile? As Einstein said, the most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe. But often, the way we think is clouded by cognitive distortions, negative thought patterns that act like armors to protect us. Yet, they often trap us in cycles of stress and low self-esteem. In today's video, we will explore the common cognitive distortions that affect us daily. Identifying them is the first step to transforming your mindset. Grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Feel free to ask questions. I'm here to help. Cognitive distortions are negative thinking patterns that can warp our perception of reality, leading to inaccurate or harmful conclusions. They are common in everyone, but recognizing and addressing them is crucial for maintaining a healthy and balanced mindset. In the context of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, identifying and challenging these distortions is a key step toward developing more positive and realistic ways of thinking. These distortions are essentially mental filters that shape how we perceive ourselves, others, and the world around us. They are automatic thoughts that create a biased view of reality, often leading to unnecessary stress, anxiety, and depression. What makes these distortions so powerful is that they can feel like undeniable truths, even though they are often based on flawed thinking. We all experience cognitive distortions to some degrees. It's part of how our brain processes information, taking shortcuts to quickly interpret situations. However, these shortcuts can sometimes lead us astray, causing us to see things not as they truly are, but as our distorted thoughts shape them. These thought patterns are influenced by our beliefs, past experiences, and emotions, which can create a cycle of negative thinking that reinforces itself over time. So why is it important to identify these distortions? Recognizing cognitive distortions is like discovering the hidden rules of the mind's game. Once you can name and identify these distortions, you start to uncover the ways your mind might be deceiving you. This awareness is crucial because it's the first step toward breaking free from the grip of negative thinking. Through cognitive restructuring, a core technique in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, you can challenge and change these harmful patterns. By doing so, you pave the way for a more balanced, objective, and positive mindset. Cognitive distortions are mental traps that distort our perception of reality, leading us to think in biased, often negative ways. These thought patterns are automatic, but by grouping and understanding them, we can better identify why they occur and take steps to change and challenge them. Let's dive into some common cognitive distortions, organized into categories based on their similarities. Number 1. Exaggeration distortions. Exaggeration distortions involve amplifying or downplaying events, which can lead to an inaccurate perception of reality. Catastrophizing. This distortion occurs when you expect the worst possible outcome in any situation. It's like looking at the world through a magnifying glass that only amplifies potential disasters. For example, if you are waiting for test results from a doctor, you might immediately think this is going to be terrible news. I'm sure it's something life-threatening, even though there is no evidence to support this. Catastrophizing leads to excessive anxiety and stress because it makes every challenge seem unsurmountable. Magnification or minimization. These are two sides of the same coin. Magnification involves exaggerating the importance of negative events or personal flaws, making them seem more significant than they are. For instance, if you make a small mistake at work, you might think this is a disaster, I'm going to lose my job, even though the mistake is minor. Minimization, on the other hand, involves downplaying the importance of positive events or achievements. For example, after receiving praise, you might dismiss it by thinking it wasn't a big deal, anyone could have done that. Both magnification and minimization distort reality and prevent you from seeing situations objectively. Number 2. Binary and extreme thinking. This category of distortions involves viewing the world in black and white terms without recognizing the shades of gray in between. Polarized thinking, all or nothing thinking. In polarized thinking, everything is seen in extremes. You categorize situations, people, or yourself as either good or bad, successful or a failure, with no middle ground. For example, if you are on a diet and have one small indulgence, you might think, I've completely ruined my diet, I'm a failure, instead of recognizing that one slip doesn't negate all your overall progress. This kind of thinking can lead to feelings of inadequacy and hopelessness, because it doesn't allow for the complexity and nuance that life often requires. Overgeneralization happens when you make broad, sweeping conclusions based on a single event or limited experience. For instance, if you had a bad experience with one person in a specific group, you might think everyone in that group is awful. Or if you fail at one task, you might conclude, I fail at everything. This distortion creates an overly negative and inaccurate view of reality, which can contribute to feelings of helplessness and pessimism. Number 3. Selective attention. Selective attention involves focusing on specific aspects of a situation while ignoring others, often leading to skewed and negative view of events. Mental filtering is like wearing glasses that only allow you to see the negative aspects of any situation. Even if there are many positive elements, the negative ones dominate your perception. For example, after giving a presentation where most feedback was positive, you might fixate on the one critical comment and feel like the entire presentation was a failure. This distortion can lead to chronic dissatisfaction and unhappiness because it prevents you from seeing the full picture. Number 4. Assumption-based distortions. These distortions involve making assumptions without evidence, often leading to misunderstandings and unnecessary anxiety. Jumping to conclusions by mind reading occurs when you assume you know what others are thinking without any actual evidence. For instance, if someone doesn't respond to your message right away, you might think they must be angry with me, even though they could simply be busy. The distortion can strain relationships and lead to unnecessary anxiety. Fortune telling involves predicting that things will turn out badly, again without any evidence. Before a job interview, you might think, I'm definitely not going to get this job, even though you have no way of knowing the outcome. This can lead to self-sabotage, as you might not perform as well due to the negative expectations you've set for yourself. Number 5. Emotion-based distortions. Emotion-based distortions occur when you interpret your emotions as facts, leading to inaccurate beliefs about reality. Emotional reasoning is the tendency to believe that your emotions reflect objective reality. If you feel anxious, you might conclude something bad is going to happen. Or if you feel guilty, you might think, I must have done something wrong. This distortion can be particularly damaging because it allows fleeting emotions to dictate your perception of reality, leading to persistent negative beliefs and behaviors. Number 6. Rigid expectations. Rigid expectations involve holding yourself or others to unrealistic and inflexible standards, which can lead to disappointment and frustration. The should statements are when you impose strict, often unrealistic expectations on yourself or others. For example, you might think I should always be happy, or people should always treat me with respect. These expectations can set you up for disappointment because they don't account for the complexities of real life. Where reality doesn't meet these rigid expectations, it can lead to feelings of guilt, frustration, and anger. Number 7. Identify distortions. Identify distortions involve defining yourself or others based on limited actions or traits, often leading to a distorted sense of self or others. Labeling and mislabelling. Labeling involves assigning a global, often negative label to yourself or someone else based on one or two behaviors. For example, after failing a test, you might label yourself stupid rather than recognizing it as a single event that doesn't define your intelligence. Mislabeling is when these labels are not just inaccurate but also emotionally loaded, which reinforces negative self-perception. This distortion can lead to a fixed negative self-image that is hard to shake. Number 8. Responsibility distortions. Responsibility distortions involve taking on too much or too little responsibility for events, often leading to guilt or blame. Personalization occurs when you blame yourself for events outside your control, or take responsibility for things that aren't really your fault. For example, if a friend is upset, you might think it's my fault they are unhappy, even though their mood could be due to many factors unrelated to you. Personalization can lead to excessive guilt, stress, and a distorted sense of responsibility, as you might feel burdened by things you cannot actually control. Before we dive into how to overcome cognitive distortions, it's essential to understand what makes these thought patterns so powerful and persistent. Cognitive distortions share several common characteristics that influence how we think, feel, and behave. Recognizing these traits can help us identify when we are falling into these mental traps and why they are so challenging to break free from. Number 1. Distorted perception of reality. Cognitive distortions skew our perception of reality. They twist facts and exaggerate negative aspects of situations, leading us to see the world through a distorted lens. This misalignment with reality often goes unnoticed because these distortions feel like natural, unquestionable truths. Imagine you receive constructive feedback at work. Instead of seeing it as a chance to grow, a distortion might make you believe that your entire job performance is poor even when this isn't true. Number 2. Automatic and unconscious. These distortions often operate on autopilot, arising quickly and unconsciously in response to specific triggers. Because they are so automatic, they can be challenging to recognize in the moment. They become habitual ways of thinking, making them feel like part of who we are rather than something that can be changed. When something doesn't go as planned, you might automatically jump to the worst-case scenario without even realizing it, driven by a pattern of catastrophizing. Number 3. Negative bias. Most cognitive distortions have a negative tilt, meaning they tend to focus on the worst aspects of a situation. This negativity can color your overall outlook, leading to increased anxiety, stress, and even depression. After a social interaction, you might fixate on the one awkward moment, ignoring all the positive or neutral aspects, which leaves you feeling unnecessarily embarrassed or upset. Number 4. Self-reinforcing cycles. Cognitive distortions create self-reinforcing cycles. The more you think in distorted ways, the more you start to believe them, which then influences how you interpret future events. This cycle can deepen negative thinking patterns over time. If you constantly tell yourself you are not good enough, you start to notice and believe evidence that supports this belief, which in turn makes it harder to see your true strengths. Number 5. Emotional and behavioral impact. These distorted thoughts directly impact your emotions and behaviors. By altering how you perceive events, cognitive distortions can lead to feelings of fear, anger, guilt, or sadness, and drive behaviors that reinforce these emotions like avoidance or aggression. If you label yourself as a failure, you might feel demotivated and avoid taking on new challenges, which reinforces the distorted belief. Number 6. Resistance to change. Because they are deeply ingrained and often rooted in core beliefs, cognitive distortions are resistant to change. Challenging these thoughts requires conscious effort and practice, as they often feel like an integral part of your identity. Even when you try to adopt a more balanced perspective, the pull of cognitive distortions can be strong, leading you to slip back into old thinking patterns. Number 7. Rooted in core beliefs. Many cognitive distortions stem from core beliefs formed early in life, often through significant experiences or learned behaviors. This belief shapes how you see the world and yourself, making cognitive distortions more persistent and difficult to change. If you grew up believing that you must be perfect to be valued, you might struggle with all or nothing thinking, where anything less than perfection feels like total failure. Understanding these common characteristics is crucial because they highlight why cognitive distortions are so challenging to identify and overcome. These patterns can feel like an ingrained part of our thinking, but with awareness and practice, they can be recognized and reshaped. The key is not just in knowing these distortions exist, but in learning how to effectively counteract them. In the next section, we will explore practical strategies to help you overcome cognitive distortions and develop a more balanced positive mindset. How to overcome cognitive distortions? Number 1. Awareness. The first step to overcoming cognitive distortions is awareness. Pay close attention to your thoughts, especially those that lead to negative emotions. Start noticing patterns. Are there recurring themes in your thinking that tend to make you feel anxious, sad, or frustrated? This self-observation is the foundation for change. Number 2. Change your thoughts. Once you've identified a cognitive distortion, the next step is to challenge it. Ask yourself, are these thoughts based on facts or are they merely assumptions? Could there be another way to interpret the situation? Consider what evidence you have to support your thoughts and actively seek out evidence that might contradict them. This process helps to break the automatic nature of distorted thinking. Number 3, reframe your thoughts. After challenging your thoughts, it's time to reframe them. This involves replacing distorted thoughts with more realistic and balanced ones. For instance, instead of thinking I always mess up, try I sometimes make mistakes, but I also have successes. This shift in perspective helps to neutralize the negative impact of cognitive distortions and fosters a more positive outlook. Number 4, practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is a powerful tool in combating cognitive distortions. By being fully present in the moment and observing your thoughts without judgment, you create space between yourself and your automatic reactions. This distance allows you to see your thoughts more clearly and recognize when they are distorted, enabling you to respond to situations with a clearer, calmer mind. Number 5, cognitive restructuring. Cognitive restructuring is a core technique in cognitive behavioral therapy that involves identifying cognitive distortions and actively working to replace them with more balanced and rational thoughts. For example, if you find yourself catastrophizing about an upcoming event, challenge this by considering more realistic outcomes. Prepare for these outcomes calmly rather than automatically assuming the worst. Number 6, engage in positive self-talk. Replace negative self-talk with positive affirmations and supportive language. Instead of berating yourself for perceived failures, remind yourself of your strengths and past achievements. This shift not only helps counterbalance cognitive distortions, but also builds self-compassion and resilience over time. Number 7, journaling. Writing down your thoughts can be a powerful way to gain clarity. By keeping a thought journal, you can track recurring patterns and identify cognitive distortions as they arise. This practice not only helps in recognizing these distortions, but also in developing strategies to challenge and reframe them consistently. Number 8, seek feedback from others. Sometimes, recognizing cognitive distortions on your own can be difficult. Talking to a trusted friend, therapist, or coach can provide a fresh perspective. They can help you see situations more clearly and offer constructive feedback on your thought patterns, which is invaluable in overcoming these distortions. Number 9, practice gratitude. Focusing on the positive in your life is a powerful antidote to cognitive distortions. Regularly practicing gratitude helps shift your mindset toward recognizing the good in situations, reducing the influence of distortions like mental filtering or magnification. Over time, this practice can lead to a more balanced and optimistic outlook on life. Cognitive distortions are a common part of the human experience, but they don't have to define or control your life. By learning to identify and challenge these negative thought patterns, you are taking significant steps toward improving not only your mental health, but your overall well-being. Remember, the thoughts we choose to nurture can shape our reality, so it's crucial to cultivate a mindset that reflects truth, balance, and positivity. As you continue on this journey of self-discovery and cognitive restructuring, keep in mind that every small effort you make to challenge these distortions is a powerful step toward a healthier, more fulfilling life. The process may take time, but each mindful moment you invest in reshaping your thoughts brings you closer to a more empowered and resilient self. If you are eager to dive deeper into these techniques and learn how to apply them more effectively, be sure to explore the other videos in our Positive Mindset Makeover series. Together we can reframe our thinking and create a brighter, more empowered future. In our next video, we will delve into these strategies with even greater detail, providing you with practical tools to reshape your thinking and foster a more positive mindset. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss out in these valuable insights. If this video helped you gain a better understanding of your thought patterns, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who might benefit from this message. Your support is what allows us to continue creating content that uplifts and empowers others. If you haven't seen our previous videos, I highly recommend going back to watch them. They lay the essential foundations for everything we've discussed today. For those ready to take the next step, be sure to watch our upcoming video on cognitive restructuring, changing negative thought patterns. It's packed with practical tips that will help you master your thought patterns and ultimately master your life. You will find the link to these videos in the description below or at the end screen. Thank you for joining us on this journey toward a more positive mindset. And remember, your thoughts hold the power to shape your reality. So make them count. See you in the next video. Much love.